What is NVH? Many of you know it stands for noise, vibration, and harshness. So this is why I am on a personal quest to get the Camaro down to the levels of NVH that a production car would have. And I know that this is a steep mountain to climb, but let me tell you a story. So years ago, I had the opportunity to drive my perfect car. It is a Porsche GT3 RS. Shout out to Miles Kraut, who let me drive his GT3 RS on a track. And he also has a GT2 that I got to drive on track. And man, oh man, changed my life forever. That is my dream car. I have to have one, but I can't. I am not at the income level where that kind of a vehicle is even remotely a possibility. Well, I mean, if I sold the Camaro and I got the full appraised value for the Camaro and I took out a loan, yes, I could have a GT3 RS, but I am not willing to do that. In the meantime, I do have this dream of getting this car down to the level of, a GT3 RS. So anyways, let's talk about a couple of things on this car. The noise inside the cabin. I love the noise outside the cabin. The exhaust sounds great. I got to watch Bridget rip it around a track, and I gotta say this car sounds pretty glorious. Happy about that. But inside the car. So inside the car, when I had the old exhaust on it, the old straight through, I don't have the mufflers here to show you, but I've shown you in a past video. Yeah, they're put away. When I had those mufflers on the car, it was 92 decibels inside the car. Way too much. So then I changed to this exhaust, and now on the highway, I was 89 decibels inside the car. So I'm going to go underneath the car right now, and I'm going to show you something I found was a lot of what was causing a lot of the noise. Okay, so I'm at the back of the car, and this is the fuel tank, the exhaust. Right here at this corner, the exhaust would touch the fuel tank and cause a lot of noise inside the car. So I have fixed that, right? We got a gap there. But the other thing is, let me slide up to further up in the car, further up in the exhaust. Whoop. You can see here, I have tried to isolate the exhaust from this transmission crossmember, and I put the silicone pieces here thinking that this is going to isolate noise. It did not. So I actually had to space this down, and you can see I got spacers there to bring the whole thing down, and then I put spacers between the transmission and this mount, so the transmission's at the same angle. That by itself, just this change, took 2 decibels out of the noise. So it is now 87 decibels inside the car. I cannot find any other place. I mean, the exhaust is very close right here. I don't think this is hitting now, but the car is, let me get out from underneath the car here. So what I have is I have an app on my phone that tells decibel level. I put it on the car, like on a clip, on a camera mount or a phone mount in the car, and 6th gear, 100 kilometers an hour on the highway, 62 miles an hour for my American friends. And I see what the average decibel level is. It was in the 90s, and then I got it down to 89, and that final thing with the exhaust there, it's down to 87. So now I am told that inside a GT3 RS on the highway, it is 78 decibels. Well, this car is 78 decibels just sitting and idling inside the car. So I don't know if I can get it down to that, but I certainly would be happy with something in the low 80s for decibel level. So that is noise, all right? So, and then vibration and harshness. Okay, so let me flip the camera around again and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is a rear wheel, and obviously it's hanging in the air, but I'm just gonna Can you hear that? Or can you see that? Can you see that movement? That is that little bit of free play that is in those spherical rod ends on the shocks is enough that the wheel wiggles up and down like 1/8 of an inch, and that causes vibrations inside. Now, when I wore a younger man's clothes, I loved all the noise, all the drama in driving a car. When I met Bridget, I was driving a modified, very modified 1980 Porsche 911 SC, and I will show a picture of it here. So that car had solid motor mounts. It had solid bushes in the steering, in the shifter, and it had suspension that was 85% stiffer than the stock suspension. And it also had super trap mufflers. For a lot of you, you probably don't know what super traps are. Look it up. They had discs. They had these discs that you could stack up on the exhaust. And that thing may have had only a 3-liter motor in it, but it sounded like it had a 12-liter exhaust because it was just the loudest thing. When we were first dating and I would go pick her up at her apartment, she lived on the 11th floor of an apartment. She heard me coming blocks away, and so did the doorman. They had a doorman in her building. Her doorman would literally call up and tell her that her boyfriend was coming and I was still a ways away. Like, it was loopy. All right. That was all perfectly acceptable years ago, but now I need a little more calm. And so I would like to get the Camaro at the NVH levels of a production car. So what I've done is got myself some Viking Berserker shocks. So these are double adjustable. Same spring rates. I'm going to have exactly the same spring rates. These are actually the front shocks off the Camaro, and these are the rear shocks for the Vikings. So don't compare the springs. Obviously they're very different. But these are double adjustables, and they have poly bushes at either end. So I'm going to run these ones on the street and at local events. And when I go to the big show in Lincoln, Nebraska, we're going to put the Penske's on. And I'll send these ones off over the winter for rebuild too. So this is just one more step in the quest for lower levels of NVH and make the car more enjoyable to drive. We're waiting for a train, so I thought I would take this opportunity to show you what... Ironically, here I'm talking about how terrible the audio is on GoPro cameras and how the microphones are really lousy. But anyways, so I have to do this voiceover. This is, I think, my first voiceover ever. Anyways, I had to wait for a train. You can see here that at idle, the car is like, 82 decibels or whatever. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that it's super cold outside, because idling the car interior, when it was warmer, it was only 80 decibels. So I think the cold air transfers the noise differently. I don't know. But anyways, we're going to go for a little bit of a drive on the highway, and we're going to see what the car does for decibel levels inside the cabin at 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour in 6th gear. So that's what we're going to be doing now. All right, here we are getting up to highway speed, and you'll see that the decibel levels go to be like 87, 88 decibels. It doesn't capture the difference in the feel of the car going over bumps with the new Viking shocks, but you get the idea. It is definitely softer with the Vikings than it was with the Penske's, and that's fine. The Penske's are amazing handling shocks, and I will definitely have those in for when I'm going to the big competition in Lincoln. But in the meantime, I don't think there's any way for me to get the car quieter inside without going to a quieter exhaust. So I think in a future video, I'm going to be rethinking the exhaust, installing a Helmholtz resonator, or doing something, maybe going to super quiet mufflers and then having a bypass when I want them to be a little louder. We're going to have to figure something out there. So that will be in a future video. But anyways, thanks for watching this far and for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And we'll see you in a future video.